Why do so many men lose themselves in the pursuit of women, only to find emptiness where they expected meaning? Why is it that the very force we believe completes us often becomes the source of our downfall? Today, we face the uncomfortable truth. Man does not fall in love with a woman, he falls in love with the idea of her. It is not the woman herself that captivates him, the projection he casts upon her. She becomes, in his imagination, the solution to his emptiness, the fulfillment of his longing, and the embodiment of everything he believes he lacks. In truth, she is simply a human being, flawed, calculating, and driven by instincts just as he is. But through the lens of romantic idealism, man is unable to see her nature. He replaces reality with a dream and calls it love. This illusion is not accidental, it is born of biological necessity. Nature, in its cruel ingenuity, devised a mechanism whereby man is compelled to protect, serve, and desire the woman, not because she is inherently noble or divine, but because his instincts are enslaved to reproduction. And yet, instead of recognizing this compulsion for what it is, man weaves a poetic narrative around it. He writes songs, invents myths, and crowns her with titles like muse, goddess, or soulmate. All of this is fantasy, carefully constructed to disguise the brutal reality that nature has no concern for truth, only for continuation. The more intelligent the man, the more elaborate his delusion. He seeks depth where there is only instinct, wisdom where there is only survival. He reads meaning into glances, signs into silence, and virtue into passivity. He imagines that her approval will redeem his existence, and her affection will give purpose to his suffering. In doing so, he surrenders not only his judgment, but his dignity. He becomes a servant to an image, not a person. The woman, meanwhile, does not require such illusions. She knows her value lies not in being understood, but in being desired. She does not dream up the man's nature. She observes it and uses it. If he wishes to believe she is pure, gentle, and uncorrupted, she will not correct him. She will nod, smile, and allow the illusion to grow, for in that illusion lies her power. The more he projects, the more she controls. And the more he believes she completes him, the more complete her control becomes. This dynamic is neither romantic nor accidental. It is deeply rooted in the primitive mechanics of life. Man chases woman not because she is his spiritual counterpart, but because his instincts demand it. The body speaks, and the mind obeys. The tragedy is that he does not recognize this obedience as slavery. He wraps it in noble language, calling it devotion, love, or sacrifice. But it is none of those things. It is simply the failure to see the difference between what is and what one wishes to be. The illusion becomes dangerous when it begins to shape not only the individual man, but the entire culture. Societies begin to organize themselves around the worship of femininity. Marriage becomes a contract not of equals, but of master and servant. Though the roles are hidden beneath ceremony and sentiment, art becomes obsessed with portraying the woman as angelic and man as beast, forever unworthy and forever begging for her affection. Even religion is not immune, painting feminine love as redemptive and masculine desire as sinful. Men grow up being told to serve women, to please them, to win their favor. From childhood, they are conditioned to believe that their worth is measured by how much a woman desires them. They are trained to chase, to sacrifice, and to protect, all under the pretense of being honorable or gentlemanly. But what is honor when it is built on delusion? What is virtue when it demands blindness? This romantic idealism robs man of clarity. It makes him act against his own interests, to pursue relationships that drain him, to enter unions that enslave him, and to seek validation from those who neither understand nor respect the weight of his sacrifice. He believes he is building a future, when in truth he is dissolving into someone else's script. A script written by biology, edited by society, and performed by the unaware. The illusion is maintained because it is sweet. Reality is bitter, and between the two, most men will always choose the lie that comforts over the truth that disturbs. They will whisper to themselves that she is different, that this time it is real, that love has finally arrived in its purest form. And so the cycle repeats, the projection is reborn, the illusion reignites, and the man, once again, forgets himself in the face of what he believes to be beauty, but is merely disguise. What men call love, affection, or chemistry is often nothing more than the clever disguise of nature's law. It is not the soul that draws man to woman. It is the command of the species, issued through the instincts, without consultation, without reason, and without mercy. The man may believe he is choosing freely when he pursues the woman, when he dreams of her, when he sacrifices for her. But in truth, he is obeying orders that were issued long before he had the capacity to question them. He is conscripted into a war he does not understand, where the battlefield is his desire, and the victory belongs not to him, but to the cold and indifferent continuity of life. This compulsion does not operate through rational channels. It does not ask whether the woman is kind, intelligent, or virtuous. It does not care if she is capable of love, loyalty, or reciprocity. Nature does not favor wisdom, it favors replication. The woman's youth, her appearance, her fertility, these are the codes written into the male psyche. They override his logic and flood his mind with longing. He may convince himself he is seeking a partner, a confidante, or a soulmate, but he is really seeking the vessel through which his lineage might extend. He is not in love with her mind. He is enslaved to her function. The woman, in contrast, is not subject to the same kind of blindness. Her instincts are no less tyrannical, but they are more calculating. She is drawn not merely to beauty, but to strength, provision, status, and control. While the man is driven to pursue and protect, the woman is driven to secure and select. Her interest in the man is not in who he is, but in what he can offer. She measures worth not by character but by capability. What he feels is irrelevant. What he can provide is everything. The so-called romantic exchange, then, is nothing but a transaction enforced by biology. One offers strength, the other offers access. One gives protection, the other gives reproduction. This cruel machinery is disguised with poetry and ceremony. The man kneels, the woman smiles, and society claps. But beneath this ritual lies a grim contract. He will serve, and she will accept. He will labor, and she will evaluate. At every turn, it is nature who wins, not the individuals. They are merely pawns, rewarded with fleeting emotions and punished when they deviate from the pattern. The man who refuses to chase is called cold. The woman who refuses to select is called foolish. Autonomy is punished. Instinct is rewarded. The tyranny is deepened by the illusion of choice. Man believes he has agency in whom he loves. He thinks he is falling for this woman, at this moment, for personal and spiritual reasons. But his preferences are dictated by things he cannot see. Symmetry, fertility signals, behavioral cues embedded in the body language of the woman. He does not love, he responds. He does not choose, he is compelled. Even his sense of romance is pre-written, an echo of ancient patterns dressed in modern language. He feels profound attachment, but only because nature makes it so that he will stay, protect, provide, and serve the continuation of the cycle. And the woman, too, obeys. She is drawn to men who display dominance, even if that dominance leads to cruelty. She favors confidence, even if that confidence is shallow. She prefers stability, not necessarily goodness. Her instincts do not guide her toward the morally upright man, but toward the one who can offer security and genetic strength. Her feelings, too, are dictated by unseen algorithms. She smiles not because she understands, but because her biology finds advantage. The warmth of her touch is not affection, it is strategy. The gentleness of her voice is not tenderness, it is design. In this grim system, suffering is inevitable. The man seeks meaning and finds repetition. He hopes for union and finds exploitation. He desires peace and finds servitude. The woman, too, finds herself disillusioned, though in a different manner. She expects stability, but is often met with failure. She desires dominance, but resents it once possessed. The instincts do not promise happiness, only propagation. And once the biological mission is complete, what remains is often emptiness, resentment, or boredom. The fire that once burned brightly, lit by nature's match, flickers and dies when its purpose is fulfilled. Even the institutions built around this dynamic, marriage, family, tradition, are shaped by the needs of the species, not the needs of the soul. They are not created for love, but for control. They exist to regulate the tyranny, to keep the man bound and the woman contained, to ensure that the machinery continues to function. Romance is preached, but only to mask the demands of reproduction. Commitment is exalted, not for its own sake, but to ensure the offspring survive. It is not about fulfillment. It is about survival. And so, the man who seeks love must first understand the prison in which he stands. His deepest feelings are not always his own. His greatest longings are not noble. They are inherited compulsions, dressed in the language of modern civility. He is pulled forward by an invisible chain, forged by millions of years of blind reproduction, dragging him not toward beauty, but toward necessity. Power is often imagined as something loud, aggressive, and commanding, something that asserts itself with force and demands recognition. Yet the most effective power is rarely visible. It does not roar, it whispers. It does not conquer openly, it manipulates silently. And in this hidden form, it becomes nearly impossible to resist. The feminine does not rule by strength, but by influence. She does not dominate the world with arms or empires, but with suggestion, emotion, and the calculated use of her perceived weakness. In this inversion lies her true power, one far more enduring than the clumsy might of men. A woman's strength is not physical. Her control does not require confrontation. It is exercised in silence, in glances, in carefully chosen moments of vulnerability. She appears to need protection, and so man offers it. She appears indecisive, and so man takes responsibility. She appears soft, nurturing, and harmless, and in response, he lowers his guard. While he believes he is leading, she has already determined the path. While he believes he is choosing, he is responding to a stimulus he cannot even name. It is not coercion, it is seduction, and it is far more binding than force. The passivity of woman is her greatest disguise. She is trained, whether by nature, culture, or experience, to never seem aggressive. She must not appear to pursue, she must appear to respond. She must never demand outright, she must evoke the desire to give. Her silence is interpreted as depth, her absence as mystique, her gentleness as moral superiority. In each of these impressions, she gains control without ever reaching for it. She does not need to take power when others are so eager to give it to her, all in the name of love, admiration, or chivalry. Man mistakes this passivity for purity. He imagines that because she is not openly assertive, she must be innocent. He does not see that her influence works best when it is unspoken. He believes himself the master of decisions, the protector of virtue, the builder of her happiness. In reality, he is the executor of her silent will. He modifies his behavior based on her moods, her approval, her disappointments, each one a subtle cue shaping his actions. He does not resist, because it does not feel like submission. It feels like love. Her power lies in emotional mastery. Where man relies on reason, she thrives in the realm of feelings. She senses tone, detects hesitation, observes the unspoken. She uses vulnerability like a weapon, tears like an argument, and silence like a scream. When she is pleased, man feels like a king. When she withdraws, he feels like a failure. She can lift or crush him with nothing more than her gaze. And because he seeks her approval above all else, he becomes dependent on it, unknowingly turning himself into a servant of her emotional landscape. This dynamic is not accidental. It is rooted in the biological and social strategies of survival. For most of history, the woman could not rely on brute force to navigate the world. She relied instead on influence, subtle, adaptive, and deeply psychological. The ability to bend others to her will without appearing to do so was not a luxury. It was a necessity. Over time, this became refined. It became art. The art of seeming passive while wielding immense control. The art of letting the man believe he is in charge, while gently guiding him toward the outcome she already decided. Even in the modern world, where the structures have changed, this ancient strategy persists. In relationships, in social groups, in the family, woman continues to exert this passive power. She rarely needs to assert herself directly. Others do it for her. A man criticizes her, and society rushes to her defense. A man leaves her, and he is blamed for cruelty. A man resists her influence, and he is labeled cold, detached, or toxic. Her image, cultivated by centuries of myth and instinct, shields her from accountability. She is always the prize, never the player. This illusion is so effective that even when man begins to see it, he often cannot act against it. He may understand the emotional manipulation, yet he still feels the compulsion to submit. He may recognize the patterns, but still finds himself unable to detach from her approval. His reason tells him the truth, but his instincts betray him. He is not merely deceived. He is enslaved by a force he does not fully comprehend. The chains are not on his wrists, but in his longing. And yet, despite this imbalance, he continues to chase. He continues to offer, to serve, to adjust. Because the spell cast by her passivity is not broken by recognition alone. It is too deep, too ancient. It has been woven into stories, religions, rituals, and songs. It is reinforced by every image of woman as sacred, every tale of male redemption through female affection. Man believes that if he gives enough, sacrifices enough, proves himself enough, he will earn the love that heals him. He does not see that the very act of proving himself is the leash by which he is led. This is not power shared. It is power concealed. It is not the dominion of equals, but the reign of one through the obedience of the other, masked as affection, adorned with sentiment, and executed in silence. Devotion, in its purest form, is sacrifice. It is the surrender of self in the hope of communion, the forfeiture of one's own will in service of another. It is, for the man, a noble instinct, one that arises from the depths of his being, forged by generations of protectors, providers, and laborers. He does not hesitate to give. He offers his time, his strength, his dreams, even his identity. But what he calls love is often nothing more than a quiet erosion of self, a slow death wrapped in tenderness. The more he gives, the less of him remains. And yet, he does not stop. For he believes this is the price of being good, of being worthy, of being a man. From the earliest age, man is taught to equate value with utility. He is not loved for existing, but for performing. He must earn his place through action. Fix, provide, achieve, pursue. This programming is carried into his relationships, where love becomes a task and the woman becomes a test. He does not ask whether he is loved in return, whether his soul is seen. He only asks what more he must do to keep her attention, to hold her affection, to remain useful. Devotion becomes a performance, and his life becomes an audition for a role that never promises permanence. The tragedy deepens because he does not perceive his suffering as such. He sees it as honor. He bears the weight of emotional labor, financial provision, and moral restraint, believing it proves his love. And yet, this devotion is rarely matched. The woman, positioned by instinct and society alike as the receiver, offers not sacrifice, but expectation. She does not serve, she is served. She does not build, she waits for the building to be offered to her. She does not become a mirror for the man's soul, but a lens through which he sees only his inadequacy. He is told that to love is to expect nothing, that true masculinity is silent suffering, that his pain is not valid if it inconveniences her, and so he becomes emotionally mute, carrying his burdens in solitude while tending to hers. He listens endlessly but is rarely heard. He holds space but finds known. He becomes the foundation upon which she walks, the wall against which she leans, the silence into which she speaks. His identity dissolves beneath the weight of her presence, but he calls it strength. This devotion is not rewarded. It is consumed. The more he gives, the more is expected. His boundaries are not respected, they are negotiated away. His desires are not explored, they are dismissed. The woman does not pause to wonder what he needs, because he has been conditioned not to need. If he falters, he is weak. If he speaks, he is selfish. If he withdraws, he is cruel. There is no space for him to exist outside of his role as provider of value. His humanity is sacrificed at the altar of her comfort. Even when she claims to love him, it is often a love contingent on what he does, not who he is. Should he cease to perform, should his strength falter, his wealth decline, or his interests shift, he is discarded, mourned not as a person, but as a failed investment. The woman's devotion, if it appears at all, is conditional. It is calibrated to benefit. It seeks not the man, but the advantages of having him. She may speak of loyalty, but her loyalty lies not with him. It lies with her own emotional and material security. The moment he no longer contributes to that security, her affection evaporates, and yet the man continues. Not because he is foolish, but because he is faithful. Not because he is blind, but because he hopes. He hopes that his effort will be seen, that his soul will be met, that his love will finally be returned in full. He clings to the myth that love is mutual, that devotion is reciprocal, that sacrifice will be honored. But the structure is designed for imbalance. The scales do not tip in his favor. His suffering is invisible, his silence unnoticed, his worth measured not in who he is, but in how much he can endure. Worse still, society reinforces this imbalance. It romanticizes the devoted man as noble, stoic, unbreakable. His heartbreak is a joke. His exhaustion is weakness. His complaints are threats to the illusion that he is stronger, that he can take it, that he must take it. No space is made for his vulnerability, only shame when it appears. The cost of his devotion is not just his freedom or his identity, but the right to be acknowledged as one who suffers. In time, he may begin to awaken. He may begin to question why the love he gives is never quite the love he receives. He may notice that her affection follows conditions, that her presence shifts with his performance. He may begin to suspect that the love he imagined was never real, that it was a dream sown into him by biology, watered by culture, and harvested by those who benefit from his blindness. And in this quiet reckoning, he will face a choice not between love and indifference, but between illusion and self-respect. He will come to see that his devotion, so often praised, was not a gift freely given. It was a currency extracted from him under the illusion of intimacy. The modern man, in all his striving and sacrifice, finds himself entangled in illusions passed down not only by tradition, but by instinct. He is told that love is his highest calling, that devotion is his glory, and that the feminine is his salvation. But beneath these ideals lies a truth far more somber, one that exposes the silent cost of his obedience. While he believes he is winning affection, he is often surrendering his autonomy. While he thinks he is building connection, he is being reshaped by invisible forces that do not seek his freedom, but his compliance. The problem is not woman herself, but the man's blindness to the game. He does not see the asymmetry, the emotional manipulation disguised as softness, the power hidden in passivity. He does not question the myth that tells him his worth is earned only through sacrifice. And so, he loves blindly, serves endlessly, and breaks quietly. This script has not been a condemnation, but a warning, a mirror held before the man who gives too much and asks too little. It is not cruelty to see clearly. It is not hatred to recognize imbalance. To awaken from illusion is not bitterness, it is liberation. Because only in truth can man reclaim what he has given away for generations: his strength, his self-respect, and the freedom to love without losing himself. Now the question remains, will he continue to serve a story that does not serve him, or will he finally write his own,